Hello there. Welcome to Loose Lips, CTV's current affairs show for women. Well, on our panel tonight is the wonderful Janice Gray. Hi, Janice. How are you doing?
Lovely to see you.
Looking fabulous and sparkly there.
Thank you.
Great to have you on board. And we welcome our very special guest tonight. We have Jo Scott and Sarah Barra. Welcome to Loose Lips, ladies.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you. So, Jo, I see that you're a mum and that you're in communications, I believe. So that's the All Right, Are You All Right campaign.
The All Right campaign, absolutely. Dealing with mental health and wellbeing with Cantab's post-quake.
Fantastic. I know I've seen the guys with the big heads around at a few events. And
they're great,
those big head guys.
The All Righties, we call them.
The All Righties.
They're awesome.
It's a great campaign.
It is cool. It's a lot of fun to work on.
Yeah. Well done, you. That's awesome. Good to be looking out for people, I say. Yeah.
Got to fix the people. There's no point in fixing the buildings if the people aren't going to be fixed too.
Absolutely, yes. Good strategy there. All right, so welcome to you. And I see that Sarah, you're also a mum and that you work for a not-for-profits advising them on strategies to raise money. Is that correct?
That is correct, yep.
Awesome, and I know from talking to you earlier that you've got a big bag of not-for-profits that you're assisting at the moment.
I do, yep.
And doing amazing work for them, and they all need really solid strategies on how to make more funds, don't they?
Yeah, definitely do. Yeah.
So well done, you.
Thank you.
And you're a mum, and I think I saw that you are currently dating a manly sort of person who's a hunter.
I know, how exciting.
How exciting. Is he out there shooting pigs as we speak or something?
I think they shoot deer and the dogs get the pigs, perhaps.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. And then they bring them home to you and you have to butcher them and serve them up for dinner.
No, I just eat them, yeah.
Okay. And that's all good. That lovely wild Savannah stuff is lovely, isn't it?
It's lovely, yeah. It's delicious.
Well, it's a very opportune thing that you should be mentioning your man, because tonight's programme we are talking about men. And I'm quite surprised that we've got to episode 11 actually without talking about the opposite sex. So it's about time we got around to the subject, isn't it? So I recently read that women outnumber men by 70,000 in New Zealand. There are apparently just 97 men for every 100 Kiwi women, which indicates that there is an official man drought in New Zealand. So I guess Canterbury women will have to make do with the new influx of migrant workers on the rebuild. Which is interesting, isn't it? Because most of the media would have us believe that these migrant workers are going out and getting pissed and seeing prostitutes and things.
And riddled with syphilis.
Chlamydia.
Oh, chlamydia.
Right. I thought that was koalas.
That's only the Irish, isn't it?
The Irish,
Why do the Irish always get blamed for everything?
Oh, well.
They do.
They deserve it.
This is so not fair, but you know, I'm sure there's some nice migrant workers out there somewhere.
But then wouldn't the ratio of men to women have gone up with all the influx of the workers here in this
but
town?
that might be just within Canterbury. I think those figures were talking about New Zealand as a whole. So I think the Canterbury thing might just be skewing it slightly. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. But hey, you know, man's a man. Let's hope there's a good one out there somewhere. For those of us that don't have a hunky hunter.
Yes.
So anyway, our first subject tonight is bromance. Hollywood has embraced it with open arms, and it looks as though it's here to stay. Here's a clip from an overseas advertisement, which is always a sign of key social trends.
Morning, this is Colin. He's just joined us.
Hey. Hey.
Baby, I give this love to you. Mind, body, and soul. I wanna let you know I'm so into you, baby. We can take it slow, but you gotta let me know. I just wanna be
Campbell's Chunky with extra big pieces! I'll have a fork.
What?
Fork.
It's a soup.
It's a meal.
Take the shirt off.
Take it off. No, I'm not. You're
I did that.
Well, it's certainly positive to see our male counterparts embracing their softer sides and showing each other a bit more affection, which includes hugging other males. This can only be a good thing, right? I mean, is bromance real or is it just for show? What What do we think about that? Bromance real or just for show?
Oh, it certainly was in the soccer cup.
In the soccer
Bromance.
cup, well, there's always lots around soccer, though, isn't there?
Yeah, and football.
Those soccer guys are always ripping off their shirts.
Leap on a crowd. We women don't do that.
No,
But the men, you know, they were just so excited about the goals they got and everything like
But
that.
they
And I
have
suppose it's an opportunity to touch their friend up.
It is. And I mean, from a woman's perspective, do we really mind that these fabulous fit soccer guys are ripping off their shirts and, you know?
No, I don't mind seeing a lovely six-pack.
Nothing wrong with it.
Although, at my age, it's more like looking at a couple of flagons.
Bring back the flagon.
Oh, bring back the flagon.
Bring back the flagon.
Oh, flagons are fabulous.
Well, what do we think of the bromance thing? This
Let
kind of,
them
you know,
have it.
guys hugging each other, lots of mateship, you know,
Yes, but
getting
look,
physical.
I'm a cynic. I'm a little suspicious about
Are you?
bromanship.
Why is that?
Yes, because I think that men are very prone to love each other. And if they don't love each other, well, they might love your brother. But the thing is that I'm a little suspicious. I'm a little cynical and a little suspicious of that.
Do you think they're not being honest? Do you think something's
I
going
think
on
that
there?
in the excitement of the moment, yeah, it's good to have a hug and everything like that, and fine, but man, you read books and I'll tell you what, the men get up to something, don't they?
No,
With other men.
I think it's genuine, eh? I think it's definitely genuine,
What?
the bromance thing.
The bromance
I think
thing?
it's not put on, and I think men have been repressed for a really long time around being able to connect with other men in a way that is kind of touchy-feely, without it being considered borderline something else.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So I think it's totally okay,
And I
and
think
we should embrace it and, you know, promote
No,
it
we
more.
can't get in there because there's a bloke there.
And
It's
encourage
becoming
it.
more.
Yeah.
It's becoming more okay. I think the more, and I know that bromance has got nothing to do with homosexuality, but
How
the
do you
more-
know that?
Because
Oh,
it
it
doesn't.
doesn't.
Because you can be mates with a friend and give them a hug without wanting to jump into bed with them.
Yeah. I've got to have a gin.
But I think it's actually really important that they get together and they chat about stuff. And I think particularly post-Quake in Canterbury, we've seen that quite a lot. I know my husband for a while had a coffee group with some of the other dads from school, and it was hilarious. They baked. They baked.
Yeah.
It was all going swimmingly until Cam baked bacon and egg pie, put the rest to shame, and that was the last coffee group they had. They were as competitive as women. It was brilliant.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, you know, maybe it's just part of this new, a younger generation, that thinking sort of filtering through finally, that it's actually, it's okay to be physical with your mates and that it doesn't actually have to mean anything.
Exactly.
You know, we don't have to read too much into it, maybe. It's another thing of looking, another way of looking at it. Who knows? Coming up after the break, we're going to talk about male role models. So we'll see you soon. Welcome back to Loose Lips. So a lot of boys today do not know what it means to be a man because they don't have a man in their lives. Even in homes where the father is present, sadly, research shows that the average dad spends fewer than 10 minutes a day on one-on-one interaction with his child. We seem to be living in a society where emotional and spiritual fatherlessness is becoming the norm. Many of today's fathers did not have positive role models to look up to. Children who live in this environment are more likely to be involved in criminal activity, promiscuity, or do poorer at school, and they can sometimes participate in really unhealthy activities such as drug taking. So we all agree that we need strong male role models, helping them to find their way in life. But where are the Sir Edmund Hillarys of our generation? Who are our role models for boys these days? Who do you think our role models are these days, everyone?
For young men,
Yeah.
footballers.
Yeah, it seems to be that way. We're back to the football again, aren't we? It's sport stars, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
but they
it's the-
love them. They love them.
Yeah. and the rugby, you
yeah.
know, Richie McCaws and things like that.
But I think there are also some fabulous role models for men, for boys. Look at John Kirwan. What an amazing role model. We've got a guy, captain of the All Blacks, an absolutely fantastically robust, manly man who's actually in touch with his emotions enough, literate enough to actually put his hand up and say, actually, I haven't always been okay.
Yeah, actually,
and
I've got
he's led
depression.
the country on a conversation. Mike King, similar example as well, dealing with depression. I think there are some fantastic role models for men. And we look at Sir Edmund Hillary, and he did a wonderful job of conquering the mountain. Yeah. But I wonder, for those close to him, how successful he was.
That's exactly right.
Was he a fabulous role model for his children when he was in Nepal? Half his life. I don't know. I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm just saying.
Raises the question.
There's a question there.
He was a man of his generation, wasn't he? What do you think, Sarah?
I think that in our communities we have really great role models, and often the media and we focus on celebrities as having to be role models to our young people, whereas I think it's more the likes of the Scout leaders of today. I think even some of the Rotarians that I've met, like I deal a lot in the community and with people out there, and my daughter doesn't have, I wouldn't say a live-in role model in her life, but she connects with, you know, individual males in our family or, you know, in my close circle of friends that are real role models for her, and they're as important as the celebrities, I think, but we forget about them because they're not sexy or cool so much,
Yeah, and they're not ripping their shirt off and showing their soccer body or whatever, are they?
Yeah.
You know, they are just quietly achieving. You know, and what about the fabulous scientists and the, you know, all of these people who are achieving on sort of an academic level as well?
Well, what about teachers? You know, so males stopped being teachers for so long because they were alienated from the industry.
Well, the Christchurch Civic case had a lot to do with that. A lot to do with that. But I actually want to take issue with some of the vernacular we had at the top of the program, where we talked about the fact that the average male father, or father's male, presumably, only spends 10 minutes a day one-on-one time with their child.
If
but
that.
do you know what? I actually think if you are spending 10 minutes a day of dedicated one-on-one one-on-one time with your child, then that's actually pretty good. Do you know what I mean? Let's not play the parent guilt trap. I honestly think, in Canterbury in particular, there is so much research out there showing that parents are feeling enormously guilty as we walk the very complex road that is dealing with EQC claims and insurance companies. People are feeling really bad about not being able to spend time with their children. I'll tell you what, 10 minutes quality one-on-one time a day is far better than none.
And it comes down to quality in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah,
quality
and dads
quantity.
are so much more hands-on now than they were in years gone by. So much more. We have role reversal.
I mean, you know, that statistic does not apply to my husband, who has so much hands-on with our 9-year-old son. I mean, thank goodness, you know. I mean, because that would just appall me. And yeah, I mean, I think we would all, you know, be missing out if it was only 10 minutes of dad time.
You're both working though, aren't you?
We are both working, and so it's a hell of a juggle. It really is, a hell of a juggle. But, you know, he's amazingly hands-on, and a lot of it with my husband is it's a reaction to the different attitude in parenting to what he experienced. And so he's wanting to do it in a different way.
That can also always be an incentive.
That's right, and it's interesting because his dad fully admits that it was different for him, and his dad as a grandparent is now quite different and quite hands-on too as a grandparent, so that's interesting.
My husband and I did a complete swap, so he was full-time working and I was at home with the kids, and then I went back to work, actually the day of the September earthquake, and it was hilarious because I went to work, you know, big girl wearing this, you know, probably ill-fitting clothes and with my little briefcase and off I top like a man. I come home and there's my poor old husband and he's just frazzled. He's, you know, oh my goodness, how's your day been, darling? And he's like, all I have done today is clean up after children. And I just cracked up laughing and he got no support at all.
Welcome to the world.
Welcome to my world. I'm so sorry.
And what I used to say when my son was really little, if you can get one thing done well during the day, then that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Just aim for one thing, you know. Yeah, it is interesting.
Back to role models.
Yeah.
I want to know who is a good one. Is John Key a good role model? He's a bit
so.
oleaginous, isn't he?
Well, my son loves him because he came to his school, and so they see him as a celebrity. They see him as the star.
And but his face is everywhere. So
his face is everywhere, and that's what they think.
My children don't. Who's a male role model for you?
For me?
Yeah, you.
Well, my dad was one.
Yes.
Be my brother, my half-brother.
Yes.
My granddad.
Yes, there you go. Well, you see, my father was a total cop-out. He died 18 months after I was born.
Oh.
But then again, he
Very
was
neglectful.
Yeah.
he was born in 1879.
Oh, wow.
So he was 63 when he had me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right, now there's a role model you don't
So he
want.
was a Victorian gentleman, wasn't he?
Whatever
Really?
he
Or
was, he was
Edwardian.
still my
Yeah.
father. But
It's
he
like
died
Gary
when I was
McCormick.
18 months old. Exactly. Yes, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
We love Gary. Gary's
We love
great,
Gary.
but, you know,
We love
same
Gary.
kind of thing.
He's having babies forever.
Don't die.
Forever.
Hilarious.
But the thing is, I had no male role model in my life as a child growing up except my mother, who could chop chooks' heads off, who could use a wedge and maul in logs that my uncle brought in from the farm.
Yeah.
She was an independent, strong woman because she had to be. So she was my role model.
Yeah.
Although I had 4 brothers, I never actually learned too much about men from them except not to trust them.
Do you know what I think, though? And I think
Interesting
you've raised
point.
a really valid point, and that is, doesn't matter whether our role models are male or female.
No.
Doesn't it matter what characters they exhibit?
Yeah.
What characteristics that
Yes.
they
Yeah.
have?
Well, I
Yes.
think there are statistics, though, that point out that for sons in particular, it is
Yes.
quite good for them to have a male role model.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
maybe we've just identified the fact that more work needs to be put into that. But love the idea of women stepping in and taking that part
Absolutely.
anyway. So, all interesting stuff. So, coming up, we're talking about the rise of the man-child. Stay with us. Welcome back to Loose Lips. Well, the rise of the man-child seems to be a phenomenon that's being discussed widely at the moment. A great many men are throwing away the life script and they're embracing their inner child. Much of the discussion has centred around a book called Manning Up, How the Rise of Women Has Turned Men into Boys. Well, with the rise of feminism, there is a great deal of expectation on men to satisfy their partners. And when there was a patriarchal structure, men knew exactly what to do. They brought home the bacon and their wives served it up. Now some of these men are finding themselves in a form of limbo. They're rejecting commitment, with many still living at home with mum. Well, while women may have been liberated by feminism, it appears that some men have been emasculated from it. In Japan, there's a subculture called the otaku, which translated means geek or nerd, but not the way that we would think of it. These men seem to have lost their sex drives and ambition, and they have no interest in becoming salaried workers. Many young men are even refusing to leave their bedrooms, and some otaku men prefer to date 3D computer animated girlfriends than real flesh and blood, real life versions. Here's a clip.
She is the perfect woman, luscious, lovely, devoted, and entirely portable. It's why Sal says he loves Nene Anegasaki, this character in a game called Love Plus on his Nintendo DS player. Can you love a machine?
I love this character, not machine.
Sal, who goes by his virtual name Sal 9000, started playing Love Plus in September. The more you play, the more she demands your attention. So Sal nurtured his relationship, playing every single day, taking Nene with him everywhere, out on the town, even on vacation, here to the resort beaches of Guam. Then he decided to marry her, live webcasting the ceremony to thousands of attendees, both virtual and real.
You're not really married to her, are you?
I understand 100% that this is a game, says Sal, pointing out it's not a legal union, and he likes the tongue-in-cheek humor of his marriage.
You don't have to buy her dinner ever.
But as I played third wheel on their dinner date, Sal says he doesn't want a real girlfriend.
You would dump Nene for the real girl.
I only want Nene right now, says Sal. She's better than a human girl.
Well, that seems really kooky, but is anything actually wrong with this development? It's surely good news if men are evolving into softer beings. Are women to blame for men wanting to regress back to children? Is it our fault? Or are these men just lazy and they're looking for a soft option? How do women really want their men to behave? What do you think, ladies?
Oh, that is so sad.
It
Just
is
make
sad.
me just want to cry.
One question,
You know?
is Nene allowed to see other men? That's what I would like to know. You know?
That's a good point.
She could have thousands
She
of
could be
them.
married off to who knows how many.
Who knows?
And if she was, would this guy really care? I don't know.
But how did we end up here? This is shocking for society.
Yeah.
This
Janice,
is
to be in this
Japan.
situation.
Well, Japan. I mean,
Pathetic.
I went to Japan a couple of years ago. Amazing place to visit, but it's filled with a lot of sort of subculture stuff.
Absolutely.
And a lot of these subcultures seem to be to do with kind of breaking out of the restraints that their society forces on them. And so they end up coming up with a lot of sort of quite kooky things that we
You
would
can
think are
buy
really
dirty
unusual.
panties from a vending machine
Absolutely
in
you
Japan.
can.
You know,
You can buy what?
Absolutely.
dirty panties from a vending machine.
And what's more,
You know, and
a
so
friend
let's
of
not
mine,
compare.
a friend of mine's friend
Did it?
found out that someone at a company she was auditing was not doing their work when they should have been, and when they brought her into the office to ask her, you know, what's going on here, she said, oh well, the game's up and this is what I've been doing on the sly, and she'd been selling her dirty panties to one of those vending machine companies in Japan. This was
I
in
wonder
the
what
UK.
I'd get for my big mama bloomers. You know, like, would it be...
Am I in the right program?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that. And I feel sorry for that boy. He's not normal. He's not going to mature. He's not going to be able to have a conversation with Joe, Sarah, B or Janice. You
Well,
know,
they're kind
in
of
a normal way.
alienated from the real world.
Yes, but
aren't
he's
they?
chosen to be.
He's chosen to be.
Or did
as
his
a-
mother make him? I
No.
think there's a thing in there as well.
Well, why do we blame the mother? Maybe it was
Yeah.
the dad.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
right.
maybe
No,
he's at home doing it
His
too.
The
thing
role
is-
model.
His thing is about women, obviously, not about men.
No, he's in love with that little creation.
But it's easy, isn't it?
No.
I mean, it is easy. It's
Why?
so much easy because
Oh,
you
I
can
see.
Easy
program
for her.
her
Oh,
to
yeah.
look, to look
Gotcha.
how you
It's
want,
the
to
opt-out.
wear what you want, to say what you want,
It's not
to
life.
be there. You, when you're sick of her, you turn
Yes,
her off.
yeah.
I'd
It's
like
not
one of those to be
life.
my children.
And again, that makes me think, that makes me understand why they've tied into that in Japan, because they're very into that control thing.
Yes.
Manageable,
Yeah.
controlled, managed society, and that's part of it. But it reminds me a wee bit of those Tamagotchi things. Remember that they came out years and years ago, that little wee thing that would have some sort of little animal on it.
You can't talk
And you
about
had
it.
to sort of feed
Mine
it.
died.
Yeah, yours died. I
It was
know.
terrible. I had that thing alive for 8 weeks. I went to a rugby game at Jade Stadium.
Yeah.
On the embankment. I came back out. It was screaming in my car and it died, and a little angel flashed up on the screen.
Right. But you
So
see,
sad.
real.
But you see,
I
it
know,
wasn't
and I
real.
got over it and I threw it out and I never did
But
it
for a little
again.
while there, you were obsessed with that, weren't you?
I was.
Just for a little while, you were
I
obsessed with it.
was.
And I think that this, just for a little while, maybe this guy is obsessed with this idea too.
You talk about little boys, men being little boys. Men have
child.
always been little boys. Of
course they have.
You have to appeal to their inner sense of love, kindness, and I will be very good to you. I will replace your mother, or whatever. I know. But
do
the
you
thing-
have to?
Well, do you want to be replaced by a machine?
Oh, well, good point. A sexy machine?
Get a
Maybe.
grip. I find that offensive.
I think it's crazy, eh? I don't know how we got there.
How's he going to mature? How is he going to mature? What's he going to mature into?
What's he going to mature into?
a
is the
person
problem.
who puts poison on the train?
Oh, maybe. It certainly seems dysfunctional, doesn't it? But the whole
Definitely.
thing of this label of man-child, it's, again, another one of these labels like bromance and
Yes.
man-child. It's kind of like suddenly this slightly subversive behaviour becomes okay if you give it a label.
Especially a cute labal.
A cute
You know,
label.
it's like, and we don't seem to have those for women.
Well, yeah, if you were a woman and you
yes,
were
we
marrying
do.
an electronic
Wife.
guy, well, yeah, with a capital W, if you were, you know, a woman and you were marrying this electronic thing, and you were a slob lying around at home and staying at home and living with mum, what's the label for that? Is there some cutesy little
Son.
label?
Son.
Man-child. All right, so I don't know, we haven't really solved the whole man-child mystery, but we certainly think it's just a little bit on the kooky side, don't we, this side
That
of it?
particular one is.
Right,
Yes.
so thank you to our wonderful panel tonight. You
you.
have been watching Loose Lips. We're back again next week on CTV, or you can join in the conversation on our Facebook page. Good night.
Thanks, Bea.